Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
I'm Jason Miller. Tonight on the Evan Miller Report, we have breaking news as we come on air. Sorter, an American missionary who was kidnapped in Nigeria, has been released. We have the breaking details on tonight's program. Also, Israeli police are hit by a Palestine car attack. We'll have more on that. The Ukrainian girlfriend of a murdered Russian opposition activist said she has been receiving death threats according to Ukrainian prosecutors. And in Ukraine, according to the OCSE, they say they must double ceasefire monitors. Here in the U.S., prosecutors have charged alleged hackers from Canada and Vietnam for the largest U.S. data breach in history. And the CIA director announces sweeping reorganization of the spy agency. I'm Jason Miller. We have all those stories and more coming up on the Evan Miller Report. Cory Evans on assignment. The Evan Miller Report for this Friday, March the 6th, 2015, starts right now.
Live from Southern California, this is the Evan Miller Report. Jason Miller with news and politics, Cory Evans with business and entertainment. This is the Evan Miller Report on SHR Media. Here now, Jason Miller.
And a very good evening on this Friday, March the 6th, 2015. I'm Jason Miller. Cory Evans is on assignment tonight for the SHR Weekender. He'll be back with you on a full bulletin tomorrow for the Weekender at 3 Eastern, 12 Pacific, right here on the SHR Media Networks. And, of course, Cory Evans will be out of our LA Bureau a little later via tape for our business report, lawsuits across America, and the entertainment report tonight. But, ladies and gentlemen, we do start off tonight with some breaking news. And that breaking news coming into the newsroom about an hour or so ago. But this, according to ABC News, an American missionary who was kidnapped in Nigeria has been released by her captors, according to her church. Free Methodist Ministry said that Phyllis Sorter was returned to authorities in Nigeria. The 71-year-old missionary who was abducted back on February the 23rd is now in the care of church leaders, according to the church. The statement by the Free Methodist missionary did not give any details about her 12-day-long abduction or say anything about possible suspects. The AP previously reported that her captors were demanding $300,000 for a return, but there have not been any updates about whether or not that was paid. Phyllis was aware there were risks associated with her ministry, but also knew there are very few places in the world without risk and dangers. The church's statement read, initial reports stated that Sorter, a reverend, was abducted from the compound of a school in the country's Congo state. Stay with the Evan Miller Report and SHR Media for the latest on this developing story. Cory Evans will, of course, have an update tomorrow on this developing story. And go for more information on news 24 hours a day, facebook.com/The Evan Miller Report. A Palestinian has rammed his car into a group of Israeli pedestrians in Jerusalem, injuring 6 policewomen, according to police. It happened on the seam of East and West Jerusalem, on the same junction as a previous attack last year. Police say the driver tried to stab people before he was shot and seriously wounded by a security guard. The incident came shortly after Palestinian officials voted to halt security cooperation with Israel. According to police spokesman Mickey Rosfield, he described it as, quote, a terrorist attack, adding that the injured officers are in, quote, light, moderate condition in a hospital. Local media have identified the attacker as Mohammed Sharaman, and there are reports of clashes between Palestinians and Israeli forces around his home in East Jerusalem. The attack took place as the streets were busy with people celebrating the Jewish holiday of Purim. Over to Ukraine now, where the Ukrainian girlfriend of murdered Russian opposition activist Boris Nemtsov who was by his side when he was shot dead, has complained to police about receiving death threats, according to Ukrainian prosecutors. Gana Dostra filed a statement about the threat to her life from unidentified people during her time in her parents' home, where she has stayed since her return Monday to Kiev from Moscow. In a statement from the Prosecutor General's office, Prosecutor General Viktor Shoska in consequence ordered that all necessary measures are taken to protect the life and health of Doroska, a Ukrainian model. A spokesman at the prosecutor's office, Andrea Demetro, told the AFP news agency that the protection measures mean several police special forces officers will ensure her safety. He did not detail the nature of the death threats. Nuristov, one of the most outspoken critics of Russian President Vladimir Putin, was gunned down just meters from the Kremlin shortly before midnight last Friday, in a brazen assassination that has so far yielded a string of conspiracy theories but few tangible clues. Staying in Ukraine tonight, Russia and Germany have called on the OSCE to double the number of observers monitoring a truce in eastern Ukraine to 1,000. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and his German counterpart Frank-Walter Steinmeier urged the OSCE to ramp up its mission. The group said it has experienced problems gaining access to key areas. Meanwhile, Ukrainian government sources told BBC News 24 they believe Russian troops were still entering the country. According to some claims, there could be at least 18,000 involved. Last month's ceasefire agreement reached in Minsk required all foreign troops to leave the region. And staying in the region, Russian gas exports monopoly Gazprom said on Friday it had received another $15 million in prepayment from Ukraine for gas deliveries. That's according to their spokesman. This indicates that Ukraine has prepaid for gas until mid-month. Gazprom spokesman also said that Ukraine made the payment for 63.3 million cubic meters, excluding deliveries to rebel-held territories in east of the country. On Thursday, Gazprom said it had also received $15 million from Ukrainian state energy firm Naftgaz. Moving on to Tanzania tonight, where police have arrested 32 witch doctors in the northwestern Delta region as part of efforts to halt the killings of albinos. We brought to you this story earlier in the year. On Thursday, 4 people were sentenced to death for the 2008 murder of an albino woman in the same area. The government outlawed witch doctors back in January as part of a campaign to halt the killings. Witch doctors believe the body parts of albinos have special powers, bringing success and good luck. Tanzania has seen 75 albino-related murders since 2000, campaigners say. Junta Police Chief Joseph Konya told the BBC that witch doctors were arrested in possession of different items, including potions and oil from an unknown source. He did not say whether they had been charged or caught with anything related to albinos. Albinism is a condition that affects the production of skin pigment. A few weeks ago, the body of a murdered 1-year-old boy was found with his limbs hacked off in the same region. Over to Congo now, where abuse and exploitation in areas under government control in the east of the Democratic Republic are almost as bad as they were under rebel control. This, according to British charity Oxfam. Villagers interviewed for an Oxfam report complained of abuses including extortion, forced labor, illegal taxation, and arbitrary arrest. Local security forces were responsible for much of this, according to the report that was recently released. A 2013 peace deal extended state control over to eastern parts of Congo. The agreement with M23 rebels was intended to bring calm to areas that have seen 2 decades of conflict. However, insecurity has persisted across much of the east, where armed groups and rebels such as ADF and FDLR continue to operate. In areas that have been brought under government control, villagers interviewed by Oxfam said officials exploit them using similar methods and to almost the same level as when those areas were under rebel control. Women and young men were among those worst affected by the abuses. A woman in her early 30s had said that she said justice doesn't concern women when she went to report a case of rape. In her case, Residents of the region also said they had to pay government soldiers to get through illegal roadblocks and risk a beating if they refused. And an update on a story that we've been following for a good portion of the week. This out of South Korea. According to their police, they are seeking charges of attempted murder against a man who slashed the U.S. ambassador in Seoul. Ambassador Mark Limper is recovering in hospital after Kim In-jung attacked him with a knife on Thursday. That's over in South Korea, so that happened on Wednesday night, just for those of you who are here in the United States listening. Back to the story, though. Police say they are also investigating Mr. Kim's links with North Korea after it was revealed he had made multiple visits. During the attack, Mr. Kim called for the reunification of the two Koreas. The police district said to Reuters and ITN, quote, "We are investigating whether there is any connection between the suspect's visits to North Korea and the crime committed against the U.S. ambassador." Mr. Kim also had a history of nationalist militant activity, according to media reports out of the region. A small group of people in South Korea see the U.S. as the main obstacle to reunification of a divided Korean peninsula. And of course, stay with the Evan Miller Report. We'll keep you updated on this story as it develops. And staying with the Koreas, custom officials in Bangladesh have seized gold worth around $1.7 million from the hand luggage of a North Korean diplomat. Sun Yong-nam, first secretary at the North Korean embassy in Dhaka, landed in the city on a flight from Singapore on Thursday night. His baggage was searched and almost 59 pounds of gold bars and ornaments were recovered. Authorities in Bangladesh say they plan to pursue charges against him. Mr. Sun initially refused to allow customs officers and police to examine his luggage. He insisted that his bags cannot be scanned because he's carrying a red passport and he enjoys diplomatic immunity. Monja Khan, head of Bangladesh's Customs Intelligence Department, told the AFP news agency. Mr. Khan said the diplomat was told that more than 2 kg of gold could not be bought into the country. After more than 4 hours of drama, he gave in. We found gold bars and gold ornaments weighing, as we reported, 59 pounds, which is worth 130 million taka, or $1.67 million, or for our folks over in the UK, 1.1 million pounds. The gold was confiscated and the diplomat was released under the Vienna Convention. However, Bangladesh authorities have said they plan to prosecute Mr. Sun. Mr. Khan also added, "It's clear case of smuggling. We believe he would have sold the gold to a local criminal racket. He's been used as a carrier." Official figures show customs officers have seized nearly 1,000 kg of gold in the past 22 months at Bangladesh's 2 international airports alone. All right, time to get over some U.S. news. The fugitive U.S. intelligence contractor Edward Snowden says he would love to get asylum in Switzerland. He was speaking via video link to a Geneva audience from Moscow, where he is currently sheltering from U.S. prosecutors. He said, quote, "I would love to return to Switzerland. Some of my favorite memories are from Geneva." End of quote. Previously, I worked in Geneva undercover for the CIA. Mr. Stone, of course, is wanted here in the U.S. for leaking what U.S. officials say are U.S. secrets. U.S. authorities had given him no assurances of a fair trial. He was speaking to the audience after a viewing of Citizen 4, an Oscar-winning documentary about his case. In 2013, his exposure of massive U.S. surveillance, including routine tapping of internet traffic, grabbed headlines worldwide. It was an unpredictable leak by an insider in the top-secret U.S. National Security Agency. One which we appreciate, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, and that's this newsman's opinion. Too much government spying. And so much so, that's why the FCC decided to pass that internet neutrality bill. Which brings us over to our next story. U.S. prosecutors have charged 2 Vietnamese and a Canadian for their roles in what they claim is one of the biggest data breaches in U.S. history. It is alleged they stole nearly 1 billion email addresses by hacking into 8 email service providers. They used the data to spam tens of millions of people and sell them fake products, netting over $2 million, or 1.3 million pounds for our listeners in the UK. U.S. authorities say that most of Americans' email distribution companies were infiltrated between 2009 and 2012. Court documents do not reveal which email companies were hacked. Ging Hong Vu has pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit computer fraud, while Viet Qua Nugent remains at large. Both men reside in the Netherlands before Mr. Vu was extradited in March 2014. The government alleges that the two Vietnamese men used the stolen email addresses to direct people to websites selling them fake Adobe Systems Inc. software. The other defendant, Canadian David Manuel Santos de Silva, is charged with conspiracy to commit money laundering. Staying here at home now, a coalition of states suing to stop President Obama's executive action on immigration alleges the government misled a judge about not implementing part of the plan before the judge temporarily halted it. The allegation comes after the Justice Department said in court documents this week that federal officials had given 100,000 people 3-year reprise from deportation and granted them work permits under a program that protects young immigrants from deportation if they were brought to the U.S. illegally as children. They're just illegal immigrants. That's my opinion, ladies and gentlemen. Back to the story, though. Justice Department attorneys have previously said federal officials will accept requests under an expansion of the 2012 Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, known as DACA, until February 18th. The federal government's immigration actions regarding DACA, as well as a program that would extend deportations protections to parents of U.S. citizens and permanent residents who have been in the country for some years, were put on hold back on February the 16th by U.S. District Judge Andrew Hanen in Brownsville, Texas. Justice Department attorneys have asked Hanen to lift his hold while they appeal the ruling to the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in New Orleans. Hanen has not made a decision on that request. All right, folks, we're going to go ahead and take a short ad break here at this time. But when we return tonight here on the program, the CIA director announces a sweeping reorganization of the spy agency. An overhaul, he says, is designed to make its leaders more accountable. We'll tell you whether he's BSing or he has means to do what he says he's going to do. That's coming up in D.C. News. Also tonight, Democrats are decrying a GOP subpoena of former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's personal emails. We'll give you details on that. And one senator out of New Jersey is to face criminal corruption charges. All those stories and more, plus Cory Evans' business report, lawsuits across America, and the entertainment report on the Evan Miller Report, your conservative news source. And we'll be right back after these messages.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
How you doing? John Grant here. When I'm not slaving over a hot microphone on the 405radio.com Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, I check out Sean and Clint here at Sackheads Radio. We all appreciate the best political bloggers, writers, and commentators. We either get them on our shows or we make fun of them, as it should be. So check us out live Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern or forever on the podcasts on the 405radio.com.
This is Tammy Jackson, inviting you to join me on the Tammy Jackson Show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific on the 405radio.com. Put down that remote and tune into the show that covers politics, guns and the Second Amendment, religious liberties, sanctity of life, the military, and more. I host newsworthy guests and work hard to be a conservative radio show that's not like all the others. So save Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific for me, Tammy Jackson, on the 405media.com.
Hello, I'm Paul, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is my professor, Dr. Larry Arnn, on the separation of church and state.
America's founders believed in the separation of church and state, in that the country was not to have an official religion or an official sect. But that did not mean that government was to be hostile to religion, or even indifferent to religion, as many today argue. In fact, America's founding document, the Declaration of Independence, includes both a reference to God as the author of the laws of nature and a confident assertion that human beings are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Far from being hostile or indifferent to religion, America's founders understood the theology of the Declaration to be an essential part of the education of citizens.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.org.
Hi, this is Rooster from Outcry Radio. Catch me here on Blog Talk Radio every Saturday night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or follow my blog. Now, back to the Sackheads.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Is radio.
In a moment, cancer changed our lives forever.
We were told nothing could be done to enjoy these final moments together.
But in that moment, when all seemed lost, St. Jude Children's Research Hospital gave us hope.
Because at this moment, St. Jude Children's Research Hospital is saving lives with pioneering research and care. We're changing the way the world treats childhood cancer by sharing our discoveries with doctors and scientists everywhere.
And we'll never have to pay St. Jude for anything, ever.
At this moment, she wants to be in her own bed.
I want to be back at school with my friends. I want to be outside playing.
Please take a moment and join St. Jude in finding cures and saving children. Visit stjude.org.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And welcome back to the Evan Miller Report on this Friday, March the 6th. Corey Evans on assignment, but we'll be back here for a full business brief in a couple minutes' time. Now to some DC news here on the program tonight. And we start off the DC news with Director John Brennan, who has ordered a sweeping reorganization of the CIA, an overhaul designed to make its leaders more accountable and close espionage gaps amid widespread concerns about the spy agency's limited insights into a series of major global developments. Brennan announced the restructuring to the CIA workforce today, including a new directorate devoted to boosting the CIA computers' hacking skills. He said the move comes after 9 outside experts spent 3 months analyzing the agency's management structure, including what Deputy CIA Director David Cohen called pain points, organizational areas where the CIA's bureaucracy does not work efficiently. Briefing reporters with Cohen at the CIA headquarters this week, Brent said the changes are necessary to address intelligence gaps that the CIA is not covering. He lamented that there is often no single person he can hold accountable for the spy mission in any given part of the world. There are a lot of areas that I would like to have better insight to, better information about, better access to, Brennan said. He continued to say safe havens denied areas, whether because we don't have a diplomatic presence in a country or because there are parts of countries that have been overrun and taken over by terrorist groups and others. The changes come against a backdrop of evidence that the CIA's focus on hunting and killing terrorists since the September 11th attacks had led to an erosion of the espionage and intelligence capabilities of the agency built during the Cold War. The CIA, along with other U.S. intelligence agencies, wrongly assessed the presence of weapons of mass destruction in Iraq back in 2002 and failed to anticipate the rapid collapse of Middle East governments during the Arab Spring in 2011, among other shortcomings, according to the agency. Democrats on the House committee investigating the deadly 2012 Benghazi attacks are demanding that the panel's Republican chairman withdraw a subpoena for Hillary Rodham Clinton, former Secretary of State's personal emails, and schedule a hearing for Clinton to testify immediately. Democrats said in a letter Friday that the subpoena shows the panel, led by Congressman Trey Gowdy of South Carolina, has taken a very partisan and political turn. That's their opinion. Democrats urged Gowdy to immediately publish Clinton's emails in their entirety to help clear up any misinterpretations. They said the committee should return to investigating the Benghazi attacks instead of being a surrogate for the Republican National Committee. Democrats said Gowdy appeared to be targeting Clinton, the former Secretary of State, and a leading Democratic contender for president in 2016 for political reasons, rather than to clarify remaining questions about the Benghazi attacks. The letter is signed by all 5 Democrats who serve on the Benghazi panel, including Representative Elijah Cummings of Maryland, who, funny enough, is being investigated on corruption charges. The 12-member panel is investigating the September 2012 attacks, which killed U.S. Ambassador Chris Stevens and 3 other Americans. Committee Republicans said Wednesday they had subpoenaed Clinton's personal emails pertinent to its probe. The panel said it also issued a subpoena to the State Department for all other individuals who have relevant information. And a U.S. senator is being held for criminal corruption charges. The Justice Department is currently preparing and bringing criminal charges against Senator Robert Mendez, Democrat from New Jersey, for allegedly using his position to support the business interests of a donor and friend, CNN reported today. Attorney General and BS artist Eric Holder already signed off on prosecutors' request to pursue charges on the allegations, some of which might pass the statute of limitations, according to the network who investigated the incident. The potential charges reportedly stem from the politician's friendship with Florida ophthalmologist Solomon Malejan, who has donated to Mendez and associated committees. Mendez, who had been one of the most vocal Democrats opposing President Obama's decisions regarding Iran and Cuba, 2 governments with hostile relationships with the U.S., has repeatedly denied any wrongdoing in his association with Malejan. The New Jersey politician does not approve of Obama pursuing negotiations with Iran over its nuclear capabilities or loosening the embargo against Cuba. According to CNN, it says an announcement could come within a few weeks. A law enforcement official confirmed the pending charges, the result of a 2-year investigation. The only female chair of a House committee said Thursday that she will retire from Congress when her term expires at the end of the year. Representative Candice Miller, Republican from Michigan, announced her decision in a press release and a video statement on her Facebook page. She said she would be coming home, but did not say why she was leaving the House of Representatives or specify her future plans. None of us know what the future will bring, but I hope God grants me grace to continue to give back to the magnificent place we call Michigan, she said. Miller, as chair of the House Administration Committee, which oversees the chamber's day-to-day operations since 2013. Under attack by Democrats for not protecting women's rights, GOP leaders awarded her that post after she lost an attempt to head the more influential Homeland Security Committee, which she has headed the subcommittee on border security. Miller, who has a mostly conservative voting record, was first elected to Congress back in 2002. She is currently 60 years old. She was re-elected last year with 69% of the vote. Republicans seem likely to keep her GOP-leaning district in the 2016 elections. 3 other House members, 2 Republicans and a Democrat, have so far announced they will not seek re-election next year. The GOP has a 245 to 188 advantage over Democrats, plus vacancies in 2 Republican-held seats, and the party's hold on the House seems unlikely to be seriously threatened in next year's elections. But, ladies and gentlemen, that's being claimed by the AP's Alan Fram. I still think it's too early to call that. With the House of Representatives passing and forcing this Homeland Security bill down our throat, ladies and gentlemen, anything can happen at this particular point. So, I wouldn't put all your ducks in a row as of yet. That's just this newsman's opinion. All right, folks, I'll be back in a couple minutes with our continuing battle on global socialism. But first, we send it up now to Los Angeles. Cory Evan got the business news. Cory? Oh, sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Hit the wrong button there, as it sometimes occasionally happens. All right, I believe we do have him now, so let's go ahead, take the business report. Cory Evan. All right, folks, I do apologize. We seem to be having a technical glitch there with that particular story here. So we're going to go ahead and move on to global socialism now, and hopefully we can get to Cory's business report later. All right, folks, the New England Patriots are for same-sex marriage. So are the San Francisco Giants. The reigning baseball and football champions, along with baseball's small market Tampa Bay Rays, are among the thousands of businesses, religious groups, advocacy organizations, and politicians who are filing legal briefs at the Supreme Court in support of gay marriage. The cases from Kentucky, Michigan, Ohio, and Tennessee will be argued April the 28th, and a decision is expected by early summer. Roughly 6 dozen briefs backing pro-gay rights plaintiffs in the 4 states are expected by the Friday deadline. Including is a people's brief filed by the Russian Rights Campaign with the signatures 207,551 people. The Super Bowl champion Patriots, the World Series winning Giants, and the Rays are part of a brief from hundreds of U.S. businesses. The Patriots play in Massachusetts, the first state, of course, to allow same-sex couples to marry, and the Giants represent a city that is notable for its gay and lesbian community. Rays President Brian Adole said it was important that his team stand up as well. We're a small but visible business, and I actually think it's important that we send this signal of illusion to the entire region. Alud said in a telephone interview Thursday as he watched the Rays' first spring training game in Port Charlotte, Florida. The team also has participated in the It Gets Better project to encourage gay and lesbian teenagers who have been bullied. So, ladies and gentlemen, in our continuing battle against global socialism here, I encourage people here, if you're for traditional marriage, don't support these organizations. Boycott the San Francisco Giants, which I already do. Boycott the New England Patriots, despite their Super Bowl win. And let's go ahead and boycott the Tampa Bay Rays, who I was a fan of until just a moment ago, when now I'm a full fan of the Anaheim Angels, who are being called the LA Angels of Anaheim due to diversity standards being forced down our throats. And that's just this newsman's opinion. Continuing in our continuing battle against global socialism, the mobile phone company Vodafone says they get it. They say they're giving new moms paid time off, which is good for business. The telecoms group is rolling out a global policy on maternity benefits, even in countries where they are not required to do so. Vodafone will offer at least 16 weeks maternity leave on full pay to all new mothers, and when they return to work, they'll be able to work slightly reduced hours on full pay for the first 6 months. Too many talented women leave working life because they face a difficult choice between either caring for a newborn or maintaining their careers, said Vodafone CEO Vittorio Colno in a statement. Over 1,000 women working for Vodafone in countries with little or no statutory maternity care will benefit from the new policy, he added. Maternity leave rules vary significantly across the world, from 12 weeks of unpaid leave in the U.S. to 39 partially paid weeks in the U.K. The U.S. is the only developed country with no guaranteed paid leave for new moms, according to the OECD. All right, folks, and that concludes tonight's Global Socialism segment here on the program. Now let's see if we can get that business report going here with Cory Evan. Cory, take it away.
Oh man, Jay, stocks fell hard today as Wall Street feared a strong jobs report is likely to speed up the Fed's rate hike timetable. This according to USA Today. In a sign of strength in the labor market, the government reported a better-than-expected 295,000 jobs were created last month, and that the unemployment rate fell more than expected to 5.5%. Economists had forecasted 240,000 new jobs last month compared to 257,000 in January. Both headline numbers topped expectations. The economy has now produced more than 200,000 plus jobs for 12 months in a row, they say. The Dow plunged 279 points, or 1.5%, to 17,857. The S&P dropped 30 points to 2071, and the Nasdaq fell 56 points to 4927. The yield on the 10-year Treasury, though, is skyrocketing as it jumped to 2.25% from 2.12% Thursday. Oil sold on the U.S. market fell 2.8% to below $50 a barrel. Although I was watching Fox News' Outnumbered earlier today, and they put the real unemployment number at around 11 or 12%. I forget the exact number. But it does go to show you just how much the government loves to underreport unemployment. Because you folks at home know that they don't factor in those who have given up on looking for work. Big news on the Apple front, it's joining the Elite 30 company Dow Jones Industrial Average on March 19th. Shares of Apple rose 0.2% to $126.60. So I better get my Apple stock before the stock rallies again. As you know, folks, teens typically have one of the country's highest unemployment rates. Many of them are busy attending school and have limited hours available, or they have to compete with adults for work. But, according to Fox Business, 86,000 more teenagers found work last month, and their unemployment rate slipped to 17.1% from 18.8% in January. That's according to the Labor Department today. The gains reversed a sharp jump in teenage unemployment in January, and they're consistent with a trend over the past 12 months. The turnaround in teenage hiring points to an economic recovery that has steadily strengthened as it approaches its 6th year. They also say that unemployment rates dipped for college graduates, people with some college education, and those who still have yet to complete high school. The jobless rate also tumbled for prime age workers between 25 and 54. So Jay, maybe now's the time for us to start putting in our resumes and putting together our demo reels for Fox. Or better yet, we could put in our resume and start building Sprinter vans. Mercedes-Benz said today it plans to spend $500 million to build a new plant in Charleston, South Carolina, so it can assemble its next-generation Sprinter commercial van there, providing more evidence that the commercial van segment in the U.S. is continuing to get more competitive. The investment will create 1,300 new jobs, they say. Mercedes-Benz said construction of the 8.6 million square foot plant is expected to begin next year. The plant will include a new body shop, paint shop, and an assembly line. Daimler AG was the first automaker to sell a European-styled commercial van in the U.S. in 2001. But over the past 3 years, the commercial van segment has become vastly more competitive as Ford brought their Transit van over, Fiat Chrysler brought their van over, and Nissan introduced their NV line, all of which are new or completely redesigned commercial vans in the U.S. The automaker made their announcement in Charlestown this morning at an event with the state's governor, Nikki Haley. Right, that's your hardworking business report for you hardworking Americans. I'm Cory Evanovich saying I hope to see you guys this weekend on the SHR Weekender. For the moment, I'll send it back to Jay.
Thank you very much, Cory. Cory Evanovich with the business report here for this Friday. All right, folks, we're going to take another short break here on the program, but when we come back here with Cory Evanovich, we'll have tonight's Lawsuits Across America and the entertainment report. Also coming up here on the program, we will have a touching story of a Wisconsin mom and her daughter who have been diagnosed with cancer. And we'll be right back after these messages.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey y'all, Cedric the Entertainer here with Niecy Nash, taking a break from shooting The Soul Man to introduce you to Patience.
Hi.
Patience is a patient at St. Jude Children's Research Hospital.
Families never receive a bill from St. Jude for anything because all a family should worry about is helping their child live.
St. Jude won't give up until they end childhood cancer, sickle cell, and other deadly diseases.
Because of you, there is St. Jude.
Learn more at stjude.org.
Some of America's bravest warriors are returning home wounded. Here's one of them. My name is Norberto Lara. I served for 11 years in the United States Army. While I was on a combat patrol in Baqaba, Iraq, a rocket-propelled grenade took my arm off at the shoulder. When I came home, I felt alone. My family was around me, but I couldn't talk to them about what I'd seen and what I'd done. I remember just thinking, man, the way I am right now, I don't want to live. I was discharged from the Army, and I've been working with the Wounded Warrior Project since 2007. You don't have to be severely wounded to be with the Wounded Warrior Project. We do have a lot of guys that have post-traumatic stress disorder. Being able to share your story, I guess it kind of helps you wrap your mind around what did happen over there. Just because you have left the military doesn't mean your life is over. Because when these guys are coming home, I'm kind of leading and training them. Instead of for combat, I'm leading and training them to heal. If I come away with anything from Wounded Warrior Project, it's them giving my life back. My name is Norby, and yes, I do suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, but I'm okay.
Don't suffer in silence. Contact WoundedWarriorProject.org.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
At St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, our discoveries have helped drive the childhood cancer survival rate from 20% to 80%. And we share our research all across America.
I'm 80% sure I'll spoil my kids. I'm 80% sure I'll break boys' hearts. I'm 80% sure we're chick magnets.
80%? I'll take those odds.
Give thanks for the healthy kids in your life and give to those who are not. Go to stjude.org or shop wherever you see the St. Jude logo.
Live from Southern California, this is the Evan Miller Report. Jason Miller with news and politics, Cory Evanovich with business and entertainment. This is the Evan Miller Report on SHR Media. Here now, Jason Miller.
And welcome back to the Evan Miller Report for this Friday, March the 6th. Cory Evan is on assignment for the SHR Weekender, but recorded his lawsuits across America, plus the entertainment report for this evening. So we're going to go ahead and go right over to Cory Evan, and we're going to go right into tonight's lawsuits across America. Cory, take it away.
I thank you as always, ladies and gentlemen. Please be seated and come to order. Lawsuits across America for this Friday are now in session. First item on the docket, a gender discrimination trial from the New York Times. It's gripping Silicon Valley this week with lurid details about an office affair, a nude photo book, and a bathrobe-clad man showing up at a female colleague's hotel room.
I am not listening.
But the real drama is in the more mundane charges about slights familiar to any woman in any workplace that are rarely aired in public, much less in a courtroom. Women at the venture capital firm on trial, Kleiner Perkins, Caulfield, and Byers, say they were excluded from a ski trip and a dinner party because of their sex. They say they were denied credit for deals they brought to the firm. And the plaintiff, Ellen Powell, a former junior partner, was told that she didn't speak up enough and was too passive, but also that she spoke up too much and was pushy and entitled. Make up your minds, people! Is she one or is she the other?
Crying out loud!
Anyway, it's impossible to know exactly what happened at Kleiner Perkins, but the issues at the heart of the case help show what gender discrimination looks like now, they say. Though overt sexual harassment still happens, including Kleiner Perkins, according to female partners who testified, official reports of it have declined in recent years. More often, women face subtle slights and double standards that can be more difficult to define and combat. In the modern workplace, people are expected to advertise their own achievements to get job offers, promotions, and raises. Yet while men tend to be rewarded for it, women get punished if they do, and punished if they don't. If I were the boss, I wouldn't base it on anything like that. I would just base it on who does the job right, as it should be. I'll keep an eye on that one and bring you the juicy details as they come up. 6 Colorado sheriffs sued their own governor in federal court on Thursday, arguing that state laws legalizing marijuana require them to violate federal law. Joining the sheriffs, according to the Cannabis.co, are sheriffs and prosecutors from Nebraska and Kansas. The suit argues that federal law's supremacy means Colorado cannot allow people to possess or use marijuana for recreational purposes and cannot license stores to sell it. The lawsuit does not challenge Colorado's medical marijuana laws or stores. The suit names Governor John Hickenlooper as the lone defendant. Colorado's Attorney General Cynthia Kaufman will defend the state against the lawsuit, a spokeswoman for her said. The lawsuit has the backing of national anti-legalization groups, and its nationwide ambitions were apparent in the choice of where to announce the suit. In a news conference Thursday morning at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C., Smith told reporters that Colorado's passage of Amendment 64 created a constitutional showdown in the state. The amendment, which voters approved in 2012, made it legal for people over 21 in Colorado to possess limited amounts of marijuana and for licensed stores to sell it. And we'll see how the governor's defense plays out in court, as it does, and I will bring the details as they come up. And the last one involves praying over fajitas and getting burned. It was a Thursday in March 2010 when a man named Hiram Jimenez arrived at an Applebee's in Southampton, New Jersey. He and his brother Rafael slid into a booth. Soon a waitress arrived. Jimenez ordered a plate of fajitas and passed the next minutes chatting with his brother. Then there come the fajitas. According to court documents released to the Washington Post, they were served in a sizzling skillet and the waitress placed it right in front of him. The waitress told him, "Enjoy your meal," court records show. She didn't say anything more and departed. That was when Jimenez made a decision he would regret. The food looked to be real dark and real hot, but Jimenez nonetheless reached over and said, "Let's have a prayer," to his brother. He lowered his head close to the table and then heard a sizzle and a pop. Pain knifed his face. He felt burns in his left eye and on his face and tried to push the food away, but instead just pushed it onto his lap. In the hectic moment, he pulled something in his right arm, though it's unclear what. The manager was summoned. The man filed a report documenting hot food order burned me after grease popped, causing several burns to face, neck, and arms. None of the burns, however, would scar. Jimenez was so upset by the fajita fiasco that he decided to sue Applebee's, starting a years-long legal kerfuffle that only reached its resolution this week with an appellate court ruling against Jimenez. His complaint alleged that servers should have warned him about the sizzling fajitas, and their negligence left him with serious and permanent personal injuries for which he sought damages. But that attempt, it turned out, has been as successful as that fajitas meal. A New Jersey court dismissed the claim against the American food chain conglomerate, citing the fact that it was pretty clear that those fajitas were dangerous to pray over when Jimenez decided to do so. Yeah, this is the kind of thing that you fold your arms to yourself and pray to your Heavenly Father to bless the meal, and then try to enjoy it. But do not lean over a hot skillet. I mean, duh. And on that note, it's time to declare today's lawsuits across America a case dismissed.
Cory Evanovich with tonight's lawsuits across America, and very good advice there. Don't put your head down near a hot plate of food. Come on. It's common sense. Wake up. Don't be an idiot. That's the little advice from your friends here at the Evan Miller Report. All right, folks. Big day in entertainment yesterday, and Cory Evanovich got the update on Harrison Ford. Cory, what's going on with Mr. Ford today?
I thank you, Jay, and Harrison Ford's certainly getting a lot of love in the hospital in my entertainment news. It's been an emotional time for family and friends of Harrison Ford, who was injured yesterday after crashing his vintage plane in an LA golf course yesterday. The Star Wars actor suffered a bad laceration to his face in the crash and was transported to a local hospital, where his loved ones, including wife Callista Flockhart and Ford's son Ben and daughter Georgia, rushed to his side. Flockhart, who was at the hospital with Ford till late on Thursday night, was photographed driving on Friday, looking tired and clutching a tissue. She later returned to her husband's bedside. And, of course, Ben Ford tweeted an update from the hospital Thursday night, as I mentioned yesterday, explaining that his dad was battered, but okay. And, of course, this is just this newsman's opinion, but I expect Mr. Ford to make a complete recovery. May the force be with you, Mr. Ford. Next up, Andy Lack, the former head of NBC News who went on to run Bloomberg's media group, will return to NBC Universal as chairman of the company's news division next month. This according to Fortune magazine. NBCU President Steve Burke confirmed Lack's return in a memo sent Friday morning. Lack will replace Pat Philly Krushel in a role that oversees NBC News and MSNBC, who of course recently got rid of Al Sharpton.
Dipper double rare.
Haha. Philly Krushel, a previous member of Fortune's Most Powerful Women rankings, will remain at Comcast, NBC's parent company, in a corporate role reporting to Burke. NBC News President Deborah Turness, who joined the network from London-based ITV News 2 years ago and has overseen an unending series of setbacks, is expected to stay in her role and report to Lack. MSNBC President Phil Griffin will also report to Lack, while CNBC boss Mark Hoffman we'll continue reporting to Burke. And of course, it's a never-ending chain of command over at NBC Universal, which I believe is why Jay usually turns to ABC News when he watches network news. Speaking of Jay, get ready, J-Man! Kate Middleton is visiting the Downton Abbey set. Oh yeah! This from the Hollywood Reporter. Her husband recently may have walked down the red carpet for Paddington in China, but Kate Middleton soon will be given a showbiz welcome perhaps more in line with her regal status. According to a tweet from Kensington Palace, the royal residence of Prince William and the Duchess of Cambridge, Middleton will visit the set of Downton Abbey on March 12th. She's currently heavily pregnant with her second child. Middleton will not, however, head to Highclere Castle, where most of the upstairs scenes involving the Crawleys are filmed, but rather to Ealing Studios in London, where the sets for the kitchen and bedrooms are located. With Season 6 of the hit series currently being shot, this could help avoid any awkward encounters with Maggie Smith's sharp-tongued dowager countess. Kensington Palace revealed in October that the second royal baby is due in April. The world's media are expected to once again descend en masse to the steps of the exclusive Linda wing of London's St. Mary's Hospital, while I attempt to get a microphone set up over at the hospital to capture the moments when they step out of the hospital with Prince George's little brother or sister. This weekend at the box office, Chappie opens up starring Charlton Copley and Dev Patel, and Unfinished Business with Vince Vaughn and Tom Wilkinson. The critics say to avoid that one and go for the second best exotic Marigold Hotel. The MPAA say that's more family-friendly anyway. This past week at the box office, it was Focus with Will Smith and Rodrigo Santoro that was the focus of the box office with $18.7 million. Kingsman: The Secret Service brought in $11.9 million, and the SpongeBob movie closes out our top three with $10.8 million. Right, that's our entertainment report for today. I hope to entertain you on the SHR Weekender tomorrow, 3 Eastern, noon Pacific, right here on SHR Media. Till then, I'm Cory Evans, sending it back to Jason Miller in San Diego. Jay.
Thanks, Cory. Thanks so much. Looking forward to the Duchess of Cambridge showing up to the Downton Abbey set. That should be an interesting event within itself. Not that I'm a big fan of the royal couple, considering the Queen of England is a dedicated communist. But that's another story for another day, because it's time for Oddball News on the Evan Miller Report. A 25-year-old man was rescued by the U.S. Coast Guard after he tried to walk from Detroit to Canada across a frozen lake. Okay, just a minute, folks. This guy's been watching too much Frozen. Just because he saw a Disney animation character walk across a frozen lake doesn't mean he can walk across a frozen lake. The guy's delusional. That's baloney. It doesn't even make any sense. But it's part of Oddball News. Back to the story. The man was found on Thursday on Lake St. Clair, which borders the United States and Canada, about 1.5 miles from shore, by a lookout assigned to the Coast Guard cutter Nia Bay, a 140-foot ice-breaking tug, according to the Coast Guard. He was suffering from hypothermia and disoriented, said Chief Petty Officer Lauren Jorgensen, a Coast Guard spokeswoman. The man, who was not named, appeared to be carrying out only personal goods and told those who rescued him he was trying to walk to Toronto, which was about 200 miles away from Detroit and 175 miles from the eastern edge of the lake. He was then taken to hospital for care. It was the first rescue of a person conducted by an ice rescue team deployed from a Great Lakes cutter in more than 4 years, according to the Coast Guard. I'm sure they didn't like that record broken, especially with a guy who decides he just wants to take a walk across frozen ice. God, something's wrong with the guy. We wish him all the best, though. An 85-year-old man says his suburban Cleveland home in Ohio has been pelted with eggs several times a week for a year, and police haven't been able to crack the unusual case despite stakeouts, questioning neighbors, installing surveillance cameras, and even testing eggshells as evidence. The homeowner and Euclid police suspect the eggs are lodged a block or two away, according to the Northeast Ohio Media Group. Albert Clemens Sr. said whoever is responsible has phenomenal accuracy, lodging 5 or 6 at a time and often hitting the front door of the green 2-story home that he and his late wife bought nearly 6 decades ago. The after-dark attacks sometimes sound like gunshots as eggs splatter on the aluminum siding, creating a residue that strips the paint, he said. He used to clean up each time but quit because it happens so often. His insurer won't settle a claim until police catch the vandal or vandals, so to speak. so Clemens is waiting until then to make repairs, but he refuses to move from the home he shares with his now adult daughter and son on a corner less than a mile from the police station. I would live and die in this house, but it's been kind of a nightmare, Clemens told the media group. Officers haven't determined a suspect or specific motive, though they have their suspicions. Well, ladies and gentlemen, vandalizing someone's home, let alone hitting their home with eggs, is despicable, in my opinion, and so are those high school students who come and toilet paper my mailbox at my home where I live in San Diego year in and year out. So to those in Ohio and to those of you here in San Diego County, wake up, find something better to do with your life. Good grief. And finally, to wrap up our oddball news segment tonight, authorities suspect a Portland, Oregon man accused of stealing 2 bikes and also took a dwarf billy goat. Yes, police say the 18-year-old Oleg Spalvich Filescu, excuse the name chop, but that was a tough one for pronunciation. Try saying that after a few sherbets. He tried to sell bikes on Craigslist that had been stolen from the backyard and garage. Investigators say that following Spalvich's arrest Tuesday, detectives learned he was connected to the theft of a dwarf goat named Penelope that was taken from its owner's yard. The Oregonian newspaper reports the man had put Penelope on the consignment sale in August at a farm supply store in Boring. And that's what the name of the town is. So, Cory Evan, next time you want to say something boring, better be careful. There's a town in Oregon called, there's a store in Oregon called Boring. Penelope was recovered by Klamath County Sheriff's deputies. Pelosi was booked Tuesday on theft and computer crime charges. He was released Wednesday without bail pending a court appearance. And that concludes tonight's Oddball News on the Evan Miller Report. And finally, before we wrap up tonight's program, it's a battle they never thought they'd face, let alone at the same time. Missy and Brooke Shetley, a mother and a daughter from Prairie Farm, Wisconsin, both have cancer. They were diagnosed only 13 days apart. It's that unbelief, Missy, 38, told ABC News of her reaction when they learned the devastating news. You feel numb, like this can't really be happening. This is happening to someone else. It could never be you. Missy was diagnosed with stage 2 cervical cancer on December the 26th, the day after Christmas. I went in for my annual physical, and that was the result of it, she explained. Then on January 8th, Brookie, Missy, and her husband, Jason's oldest child, was diagnosed with stage 3 ovarian cancer. Why us? Why, Missy asked. Is it something in our water? Is it genetic? Why both of us in such a short time frame? The doctor said, it's not the water, it's not the environment, it's just a freak of nature. Before Missy's diagnosis, Brookie, 14, had been experiencing severe abdominal pain that went undiagnosed for several weeks. The doctors told us she had a baseball-sized hematococcal disc and said it would go away on its own, and we should just wait, Missy explained. She continued to say, we waited for a few weeks and thought, this is ridiculous, and we sought a second opinion. The Shetleys then took Brookie to see the same specialist that had diagnosed her mom days earlier. The devastating news was that Brookie's tumor was larger than they had originally suspected and needed to be operated on immediately. It was a 4.5-hour surgery, Missy recalled. It was a football-sized tumor. It had intertwined in her abdomen. You could tell by looking at her belly, but it was football-sized. The brave mother-daughter duo began undergoing intense treatments at the same time in Marshfield, Wisconsin, about 2 hours from their home. Understandably weighing heavily on husband and father Jason, a dairy farmer who was traveling back and forth to take care of them while also tending to their other 2 children and maintaining their family, maintaining their farm, including their family. It's hard, Missy said, just to even think that's my wife and daughter. How does anybody deal with that? Plus, we have 2 other kids at home, so he's trying to be a husband, father, keep up with the farm. He's being pulled in so many directions. How do you even begin? This week has been better for the family, however. Both Missy and Brookie are back home, resting and enjoying their time, though possibly briefly out of the hospital. Missy just completed her final round of radiation and chemotherapy on March the 2nd. She now must wait 8 to 12 weeks before they can tell how effective the treatment was on her cancer. Brookie still has one more round of chemo to complete, tentatively scheduled to begin on March the 9th. Although their simultaneous diagnosis has been difficult, Missy says, in a way, it's been nice. They have found a newfound bond with her daughter. She said, quote, "You don't want to experience it with anybody, but if you have to, doing it as a mother-daughter is helpful. You're bonding over raw emotions. It's definitely a connection that you form." On March 28th, their community is holding a benefit for the resilient parrot, which Missy says is just one of the generous things they've done to help throughout the process. And what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen, on this, I don't usually do much fundraising, and as you hear on our program day in and day out, you do hear us in our support of St. Jude Children's Hospital, which helps children with cancer. So what we are going to do to support that benefit, we are going to be posting that benefit link up on our Facebook page, facebook.com/The Evan Miller Report, and folks can go over there and support this family here. And ladies and gentlemen, coming from a personal standpoint, I have a relative. I can't say who it is because of privacy concerns, but I do have a relative who has cancer, and she is very close to me. And so I personally feel as a family member of what this family is feeling. And I certainly wish Brooke and Missy the very best, and Lord willing, they will get cured and hopefully be cancer-free by the time this is all over for them. But God bless them and God bless their family, and hope that everything goes well for them in the future. And as I said, we've posted that link for the Shatleys, Brookie and Missy, up on our Facebook page, facebook.com/The Evan Miller Report. If you have a little extra money, give a little over to help the family with the expenses, because I know, ladies and gentlemen, knowing this family member that I told you about, expenses, they can run high between gasoline, traveling to doctor's appointments, to paying for chemo and radiation treatments, to pay for medication to heal your body day in and day out. It can get very expensive. Sometimes it can bankrupt the family. So we certainly hope that you can give a little bit to help that family out. And ladies and gentlemen, that is the Evan Miller Report for this Friday, March the 6th, 2015. I'm Jason Miller. For Cory, Evan, and all of us here at SHR Media, we wish you a great night. And I hope to talk to you on Monday. Good night, everybody.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.